In this episode, Bashar tells us about a permission slip you can use if you want to become more lucid in the dream world. Further in the transmission, he tells us how the ancient Egyptians used to travel to other dimensions using astral projection. Episode 19. A permission slip for lucid dreaming.
This day of your time, begin to share with you new permission slips, new ideas about how you can go about becoming more lucid in your sleeping dream, more awake, more aware that you are dreaming while you're dreaming, so that you can more consciously tap into that template level reality and begin to experience physical reality as more of a dream as well. Now, as we have described before, the idea, of course, of permission slips are simply those objects, those tools, those rituals, those ideas, those techniques that simply allow you, based on your belief system, to grant yourself more permission to be more of who you are. That's all a permission slip is. However, some permission slips are, shall we say, more accessible to the collective consciousness, and some are more designed for the individual consciousness that you are. And of course, as we deliver this particular permission slip that is connected to the idea of lucidity, your own imagination may alter it, may change it, may, as you say, tweak it to be something that is more in alignment with what works best for your particular frequency. And that is all right if that happens. But we will lay the foundations. We will give you the beginning of this, which will work for many people in your reality. Do not worry if it doesn't work immediately for you. It will, if nothing else, trigger you and your imagination to come up with a permission slip that will perhaps be stronger for you to begin to experience more lucidity in your dream time. So let us begin with this particular permission slip tool and technique to gain more lucidity while you are asleep, while you are dreaming. Now, again, this can be done in a number of ways based on what you are most attracted to. But generally speaking, it is important for you to create an object. Now, you can do this through a drawing, you can do it through sculpting, you can do it through any kind of three-dimensional technique, you can even buy the object if you wish. It's up to you. As long as the object is something that you are strongly attracted to, as long as you believe that it is representative of the idea of something that excites you, something that is really representative of you, symbolic of you, that is the essence of you, that is, in that sense, your core. Any symbol will do as long as it is representative of that. But acquire it, or make it, or draw it, however you wish. It can be anything that you are most attracted to. Keep it simple. Keep it something perhaps that you can carry with you, hold in your hand, so it's not too large. Again, it is simply a representation. But find that thing or make that thing that you believe is a symbol of your essence, of your joy, of your passion. Doesn't have to be too literal. It can be. It doesn't matter if it is. But at least allow it to be symbolic of that idea. It can be as simple as a ball of a certain color or a multicolored idea. It can be a piece of clothing. It can be whatever you wish it to be. It can be something you sculpt in clay. It can be something you build out of wood. Doesn't matter what it is. It can be something you find that is a piece of art, a piece of glass. It can be something you draw. It can be something you paint. It doesn't matter. But make sure that when you hold it, touch it, look upon it, you feel that it is really a symbol of your highest joy, your highest excitement of the life that you prefer to live. Once you have that object, whatever it is, allow yourself at least once a day. At least once a day. Maybe twice, if you wish, in the morning, in the evening, before you go to sleep, would be an ideal timing. To focus on it, meditate on it for 15 minutes each time in each meditation. Just allow yourself to look at the object, to feel it, to see how it might be able to be refined a bit, to be more representative of who you truly are, of your essence, of your life, of your joy, of your passion, whatever form it takes. And as you do this, each day, at least once or twice, each day, looking at this object, playing with this object, turning it around, discovering all about it, really taking it to heart, really getting familiar with it. Do this for 1 week. Now, at the end of that week, 7 days, the end of those 7 days, allow yourself to add one thing to this object or drawing. And that will be either a shard of mirror or a tiny mirror. Put the mirror on it, affix it, attach it somehow. And as you now, for the next 7 days in your 15-minute meditation, once or twice a day, not only look at the object, handle the object, get familiar with the object, look at your reflection in the mirror. Look at your eyes. Make sure you are looking right back at yourself. Do this for 7 days. At the end of the second 7 days, allow yourself to add one more thing. A small note, a piece of paper in whatever form of writing, in whatever color you wish, that says, "You are dreaming." Put that on the object next to the mirror, right next to the mirror, so that you can see the note and the mirror simultaneously. Allow yourself to continue your meditations for another 7 days, always looking in the mirror, always looking at the note. You are dreaming. And now, the final object that goes next to the note and next to the mirror, in other words, the note on one side of the mirror, this new object we're about to describe on the other side of the mirror, so that you can take them all in, 1, 2, 3, with the mirror in the center. Now you have had this object, you've had this idea, you've had this symbol that represents your joy, your fun, your play, your passion, in the colors you prefer, in the design you prefer. Now comes the tricky part of this object of opposites, this polarity permission slip. You now need to attach an object next to the mirror that is exactly the opposite of the energy of what you prefer. Exactly the opposite. So in other words, if you have a ball, let's say, because we know it is popular on your planet at this point, a soccer ball, and it is your highest excitement, represents your energy, represents your passion. You have the mirror on the ball, you have the note on the ball. Now put something you would never imagine would be on the ball that would make it almost dangerous to handle. A nail, a razor blade, something that is exactly the opposite energy. Something in that sense that would be vibrationally incompatible with you. Here's the reason why. What you've been doing all this time for the 7 days, 7 days, 7 days up to this point is getting so familiar with this object that you start to see it in your dreams. Whether you wake up lucidly in your dream or not yet is the point. You might, but even if you don't, the point is, get to the point where you're starting to actually see this object, use this object in your dreams, with the mirror, with the note. Eventually, it will start to leak into your dream. If the mirror and looking back at yourself in that mirror doesn't remind you that you're dreaming, if the note that says you are dreaming isn't enough to remind you that you're dreaming, generally speaking, the opposite object will, because it will be so startling to see it there, so jarring, so opposite of what you would prefer to be on that object, that shock will remind you, oh, I'm dreaming. I have to be dreaming because I would never prefer this to be on this object. You will now remember that you put it there for the specific purpose of rattling yourself awake in the dream, of jarring yourself and shocking yourself awake in the dream to discover such an object on this device that you have loved and played with and gotten so familiar with, and suddenly here is something that is so out of context, so opposite to your vibrational preference, that it will actually act as a polarizing influence to shock you into remembering that you are actually dreaming. And as soon as you are shocked into that awareness, you will become lucid. You will realize that you are dreaming, but now are awake. And mostly what you will now realize is that you are, the way you frame this in your reality, you are now out of body. You will control the dream. You can make it do this, you can make it do that. But you won't be dreaming in the sense that you will be subject to the scenario. You will now be consciously and intentionally guiding the scenario, rearranging the scenario, getting it to do whatever it is you prefer it to do. You will be really on the threshold between physical and non-physical reality. You will be designing your reality in the way you prefer to see it, in the way you prefer to experience it. And once you allow yourself to jar yourself into that lucid state with this particular permission slip, you can begin to look around and you can begin to expand yourself to the template level reality, looking down at physical reality in a sense, and it will be laid out in a sense like a blueprint. You'll begin to see it through new eyes, through a new perspective of your consciousness, and can begin to rearrange things if you wish. Knowing that when you reinsert yourself into the physical dream, when you refocus as the physical dream, you will start to see more and more and more of the changes that you made in some fashion in the template level reality while you were lucid in the sleeping dream. Now, the changes may not always look like they looked in the dream, but you will start to see changes that are representative of, symbolic of, energetically aligned with the kind of changes you made in that template from the lucid dream state. And more, the more you do this, the more your physical reality will begin to take on a dream-like quality, and you will start to feel the lucidity leaking in, blending in to the physical awareness. Your physical reality will start to become more and more dreamlike, even as your dreams will start to become more and more real. And very soon, as you do this more and more, and get used to this idea, you will begin to not be able to tell the difference between the two. You will have physical experiences and wonder if you're dreaming. You will have dream experiences and wonder if this is your physical reality. And bit by bit, you'll get used to this state. Now, this may take a little time. That's all right. Don't rush it. Don't hurry. Whatever time it takes is the time it needs to take for you, because this is going to be keyed. It's going to be aligned with your particular path, your particular process. And remember that the process is the point. The journey is the destination. Don't be in a hurry to get somewhere else. Stay in the present with this. The more you stay in the present, the more you'll be capable of being in the place where all of the ideas of physical and non-physical reality come together. You will be at that balance point, that center point. But this will begin to, shall we say, rub off on you, and your physical reality will become far more ecstatic, far more malleable, far more flexible, far more synchronistic, far more magical. And pretty soon you will be truly living in the dream state, dreaming in the living state, and you will understand that physical reality is but a dream. Now, we're going to add something to this to augment this idea, to accelerate, to propel this idea a little bit further, a little bit faster, by specifically talking about the out-of-body state and how more easily to generate it, how to activate it. Not only can what we have already described do that, but we will now bring your attention to the things as they were done long ago in your history, in Atlantean times, in Egyptian times, in Mayan times. Many people on your planet have been a little bit puzzled by things they have found in certain structures, such as the Great Pyramid in your Giza area, where you find in what you call the King's Chamber a stone coffer, a stone box. Most of you now understand this is not and never was used as an actual sarcophagus. What this was used for, along with similar stone boxes found in other structures, other temples, other pyramids around your planet, whether they were used for sarcophagi or not, many of these stone boxes you will find are of certain specific dimensions. that are usually connected to golden proportions, phi ratios, natural increments like that are represented in nature. And what many of these stone boxes were actually used for were to actually bring about, to trigger out-of-body experiences. When you lie down in some of these stone boxes, and in particular the one in the pyramid at Giza, and you allow yourself to go into a meditative state and allow yourself to align with what is called the gamma frequency in your brain, which is 40 cycles per second, 40 hertz, the gamma frequency, you set up an actual resonating harmonic in the box, which is designed to amplify and magnify the gamma frequency. By setting up that feedback mechanism, by giving off that frequency and letting it resonate back and forth within the box, it magnifies and amplifies, magnifies and amplifies, magnifies and amplifies, and before you know it, pop! You're out of your body. This is how the ancients explored the universe. It is true that sometimes information was delivered to many of the ancient cultures on your planet by some extra-dimensional or extraterrestrial beings. However, don't discount the fact that many of the shamans and many of the priests in the ancient cultures actually were more than capable of getting a lot of the information themselves by simply going out of body and exploring the universe and going where they needed to go to download information when they needed it. This is an ancient art that was done all the time, ancient form of space exploration, both outer space and inner space, where they could come and go at will by using these sarcophagi, these amplifying boxes, to propel themselves out of body and go on these excursions to find out the information they need that would be of great benefit to the people of your world. So, if you can recreate in some fashion in the appropriate resonating material, be it stone or metallic alloys or certain forms of wood, we will allow you to do your own experimentation on this, but in the appropriate ratios, in the appropriate proportions that you can glean off the sarcophagi in the Great Pyramid, you will then be able to lie down in that box that you create with no top, and making sure it is of the correct proportions, going into the meditative state, the gamma state, 40 cycles per second, and allowing yourself to begin to experience that resonant frequency. The more you allow yourself to practice this, the faster you will find yourself going out of body, either immediately while you are meditating in the box, or you will find that it will set up a frequency within you so that when you are going to sleep, it will make it easier for you to have the lucid experience of knowing you are out of your body and thus being awake in the dream. So these are two techniques that can aid and assist you in beginning to become more aware, more conscious in the non-physical realms, and by so doing, paradoxically, actually become more conscious in the physical dream, which is only a projection of your consciousness and is happening in your consciousness anyway, because there is nothing out there. It's all in here.
Thanks for watching, and sweet dreams.